Good morning, Miss Tillman. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing just fine.
How was your break? I mean, your extra day off, should I
It
say?
was good. I got a little something done, so
That's
it's
good. That's good. Okay, so last week you had an observation or walkthrough rather. Came into your classroom, saw some things, and so I wanted to go over that with you today. I wanted to say today I was able to see 74%, or the day I came in, I was able to see 74% of your students were on task because there was evidence that you internalized the lesson and your annotated lesson plans were in place, and you asked. Myself, Ms. Lay, and Dr. Washington were very impressed with the higher order thinking questions that you were asking your students. So that just proves to us that you have internalized the lesson. Kudos to you. That's a marked difference in your annotating. And I just, encourage you to keep bumping it up. What teacher actions did you take to make your lesson successful?
Officer Commit, you're needed in the front office. Don't worry about the breaker. It's not the breaker.
So actions that I took, I started from back to front, X ticket, and I was looking through like common vocabulary words that we could use, things that we already know, and things that they already should know, based off what I taught. And I just kept implementing it and making sure that it's fresh on their mind. So I always like to use like vocabulary words. So anytime I feel like because sometimes the kids may say something that's not the correct term, and that's okay as long as they understand it. But I like to keep it fresh. That's not the exact word that I'm looking for. And I tell them, fifth grade, let's just use our fifth grade sentence, use our fifth grade vocabulary words, and they kind of like snap back on track and like, oh, that's called blah, 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 and things like that. So I just make sure that I'm looking for those vocabulary words, and
that's very important.
Finding, what they need to say.
That's very important that you keep those academic vocabulary words before them, because the more you do it,
I don't want them to get confused. Like, I don't know what this means, and making sure that we talked about this in class. You know what this means, and things like that. So I try to keep up that.
Okay. Today I wanted to dive into putting timestamps with your internalization. So what are the keys or criteria for success to putting timestamps when you're internalizing your lesson?
So I feel like the keys to put timestamps is just keeping me on pace and making sure that I'm going at the pace that I need to do, so I can finish at the pace that it says in my lesson, and also making sure that I'm either if I do small group at the beginning, making sure that I'm having enough time for my lesson. If I do it at the end, making sure that I have time for small groups. So just keeping that pace.
Okay. What is the purpose of putting timestamps?
I think just not to spend too much on one problem and go over, and we miss out on what we need to do.
And it also, I would just add that it also kind of gives you an opportunity, like you said in your previous response, to have time for everything that you have planned, small groups, your exit ticket, all of that. So timestamps are very important. Right now, I want to model for you what it would be like to, after you've put timestamps on your lesson plan, we want to make sure that you're sticking to the script, which is your lesson plan. So you're holding yourself accountable to those timestamps. A, you use a timer. And B, so say for instance, it's the beginning of your class period, kids are coming in, they're getting settled, it's their warm-up or bell ringer time. You would go and you would stand up and say, okay, class, please have a seat, take out your materials. I'm going to set my timer at 3 minutes. This is time for you to complete your warm-up. Make sure you're working, or however you want to word that. In 3 minutes, the timer will go off and I'll be around to check and we'll go over it. Make sure at 3 minutes, when the timer goes off, that you're done. Say, for instance, the timer goes off. Okay, guys, our 3 minutes are up. Let's go ahead and go over that. You allot time. We're going to take 3 more minutes to go over this. Take your 3 minutes. Make sure you're timing yourself. I like how you implemented a timekeeper in your lesson that day. So that's a good thing if you want to keep with that. Hi, Marissa. Go ahead and put 3 minutes on the timer for us. We're going to go ahead and go over this warm up. All right, guys, our warm up is over now. Let's go ahead and we're going to move into the I do portion of the lesson. I'm going to model this problem. I'm going to take about 2 to 3 minutes to model this problem for you. Please pay attention and you give them instructions around that. Okay? Let's see. All right, so what do you notice about the way I just framed that for you, and thinking back on how you typically run your classroom? What do you notice the differences between what I just did and how you run your class?
Well, now I usually say majority of that. However, I don't go into detail like that, and I think if I do go into detail, it helps the students to know like what's next, what to expect, and things like that, so they can be more on core with what's going on in the classroom. And but what I do usually is I set the timer. I let them know, hey, this is this. However, I don't let them know that we're going to take this amount of time to go over. So I will definitely implement that so they know that like we're not going to spend this much time on this. Only 3 minutes or only 2 minutes, whatever time that I put on my lesson plan, and they know that, all right, once it's done, it's done.
And we're moving on. What kind of impact do you think that implementing timestamps and internalizing your lesson will have on your classroom instruction?
For one, I think it'll, if I did have like any misbehaved students, they'll get back on track because they know like it's time, everything is going by time pace. They don't really have time to misbehave or anything like that. And also too, it helps the students to keep focused, because if they miss something, they miss it because it's over with. So I think it'll be a very impactful in education wise and in behavior wise for the students.
So what I heard you say is that it definitely is going to cut down on behavior issues, and it creates a sense of urgency for students in the classroom. Yep. Okay, what is the gap? And we just talked about that, the gap and the difference between what you saw me do, and so what keys are missing? And you just named this. So what details were missing from what I just did opposed to what you do in the classroom? What things did you see me do just now opposed to what you do in the classroom? And you just mentioned this.
Is it saying like the details? Making sure that like I know they know all the details, and they can act accordingly, because once they know more, they do more, or they do what needs to be done.
And we typically call that narrating the positive. So you want to continuously narrate what's happening in the setting, so that kids are aware. Again, it creates that sense of urgency for students. And you're able to get the most bang for your buck when it relates to time. So based on our conversation today, what do you think your action step is going to be for your lesson?
So continue to understand my lessons at a very high level. Also making sure that I'm letting the students know like we're act with a sense of urgency, and we're going to be creating like we're just going to stick to the pace of the time schedules. And also setting like detailed messages in the beginning of every step that I'm gonna do, so like they know what's next, and they can stay focused. Because I know sometimes if kids, when they don't know what's next, they just tend to they lot of gag or play around or whatever. So just making sure that I'm saying everything I need to tell them up front, and using my timestamps, like my timer for the beginning, what they're going to do, and then how much time I'm going to use to go over what they're going to do. Okay, so your action step for the next observation is going to be timestamps with internalization. By internalizing the lesson and adding timestamps during the internalization process, and narrating timestamps to students using a timer.
I just summed up everything you just said. So let's stamp that and write it down. So I'm going to give you, I see you don't have to write utensils, so I'm going to give you this pen. So let's stamp that and write it down in your own words. I want you to tell me your action step.
Can I get a sticky note? Thank you. Okay, you said what?
In your own words, tell me what your action step is.
What you just said.
I want you to tell it to me again. And this is the importance of having you repeat it, because I want the more you repeat it, the more it gets ingrained in your spirit and in your mind. So again, your timestamp, your action step is going to be timestamps with internalization.
Internalization, that's the word I was looking for.
So now, in your own words, tell me what your action step is again.
I'm gonna have use my timestamps with internalization.
So you go ahead and write that down. All right, thinking about the example that I modeled for you just now, how can this be useful in your instructional practices? So during your instructional time, how can what you just saw me do help you in your teaching?
I think it'll help me significantly because I'll be at a nice pace and I'll be able to end class when I need to. I won't go over. Students will have enough time to do everything they need to do, like the exit, the classwork. Everything will just be, what am I trying to say? Everything will be radical. Like, I know what's next. Like, it's just to be like a routine. Like, everything is in place. Yeah. Okay. So, to kind of, what I heard you say was you're going to be able to get everything done in that time frame that you're supposed to do, from bell ringer to small group to exit tickets. And it's important that we get exit tickets done, right? Yes. Because that's where we get our data from. And we should be relying on that data every day to adjust our instruction for the next day. Let's take 3 minutes to begin adding timestamps to your upcoming lesson plan. Go ahead. You have your phone with you? Go ahead and set us a timer for 3 minutes. And we're going to begin adding timestamps to your lesson plan, starting at the beginning. So how much time are you going to, how much time are you going to devote to your bell ringer? Usually, well, it just depends. Sometimes it say different stuff. So today I'm going to do 4 minutes.
Okay, you have that already written on your lesson plan? 4 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the next piece after your bell ringer?
Application problem.
How many times? How much
6 minutes. So usually I don't get the whole 6 because I usually go over. So I do 4 minutes and then I do 2 minutes to go over. Okay. And then we got my lesson plan, and so in the concept development it is 32 minutes on here. However, I don't use the whole 32 because we have to split it between the classwork. So 10 minutes for the classwork and then 22 minutes for my lesson. So, but because I'm not doing all of the fluencies, I have 3 fluencies listed here, and I'm only going to use 1. So there's only 4 minutes. So the time that was used for that, because the lesson is 60 minutes, I'm going to take 4 minutes from that and add it to my concept development, and I'm gonna take the other 4 minutes and add it to my classwork for students. So they're gonna get 14 total minutes of classwork, and I'm gonna get 26 minutes of my lesson.
Okay, so let's take a minute to take it live. We're gonna take it live now and practice using those timestamps from an internalized lesson plan. So I want you're going to go into singing now, starting with narrating from the beginning. And I'll tell you when you can stop.
So you want me to?
Yeah.
Do the whole
you don't have to stand up.
I got this. I just got
if you get in character.
All right. Good morning, class. How are you guys? So we're gonna start with our bell ringer, our warm up. We're gonna spend 3 minutes on this. After that, we're gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna go over it for 2 more minutes, and then we're gonna move on to the application problem. So go ahead and get your journals out. All right. So Timekeeper, go ahead and set the timer for 3 minutes. You may start. 3 minutes is up. Timekeeper, stop the timer. Set another 2 minutes for go over. All right, what you get? Let's see. Let's see what you got. Okay, all right. So class, what we all come to a conclusion is this or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
And then all right, we're all done. Timekeeper, set the timer to 4 minutes for the application problem. Go ahead and start. Once the timer go up, I want you guys to put your pencils down, and then we're gonna go over for the next 2 minutes.
All right. What I'd like you to do is, as you're going through that, make sure you are being clear and concise. And we call it an economy of language. You don't have to use a whole lot of words. Like you hear me doing like timestamps with internalization. You don't have to like use a whole lot of words like, okay guys, it's time for your bell ringer. You have, we're gonna set the timer for 3 minutes. Go ahead and get busy.
Okay.
And then when your time is, okay guys, time's up. Let's go ahead and go over that. You go over it, timer goes up. Okay guys, it's now time for our application problem. Timer is set for 4 minutes. Go ahead and begin working on that now and go. So we call it economy of language, because the more you talk, sometimes it can become more confusing to students, because then they say, what you said to do again? What you said to do? All right, so let's try it again, Ms. Tillman. Let's do that again, implementing that feedback that I just gave you.
All right, good morning, everybody. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on our warm-up. Take 3 minutes, and 3 minutes starting now. Timekeeper, set the timer, 3 minutes. All right, 3 minutes is up, everybody. Let's go ahead and go over it. Set the timer for 2 more minutes. We're gonna take 2 more minutes on this. Go over the class, stop the timer. All right, moving to the application problem. We're gonna take 4 minutes, and then we're gonna go over it. Go now, start now. Stop the timer, 2 minutes to go over it.
Insane. Okay, that was good. How did that feel?
Less.
Less. I mean, did it feel comfortable for you? Does it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, kids, I have my own kids, so I know when you give them too much to do, they only hear one thing. So definitely makes sense.
Okay, so let's look back at your action step. What was your action step again?
Timestamps internalization.
Timestamps with internalization. So did you master each of the key actions? Did we include timestamps?
Yeah, we include timestamps.
Did we use a timer?
Yeah.
And did we narrate for time for students?
Okay, let me write that down to know what it is. So what was it? Timestamps.
Timestamps.
Narrate time for students.
And using a timer. Did we do those 3 things? Okay. All right, in closing, can you read your action step for me one more time, including the what and the how?
Okay.
So I'll read it for you first. So you're going to timestamps. My action step is timestamps with internalization by internalizing the lesson and adding timestamps during the internalization process and narrating timestamps to students using a timer.
Okay. All right. So my action steps are using to set timestamps using with internalization by using timekeeper narrating with the students and also using a timer.
Okay, great. When is a good time that I can come in and follow up to see you in action with this?
Today, because that's the only time I'll be here.
Today? Any class period today?
Any class period.
Okay, so I'll pop in at some point today and see this going on. I will probably do a little videoing. So just to kind of give you the heads up. You have any questions for me? No. Okay, so I will come in today. I will observe for timestamps in the lesson and hear you narrating the time and using your timer. Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Tillman.